Hi everyone. Okay, this is video 3 of a 5-part video series that I'm doing about my stroke, and I forgot to say welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I like to say that at the beginning of everything. But my last video kind of threw me off. I warned everybody in the last video that when I talk about my stroke, sometimes I get a little emotional. I could not have done this 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5. Like, it's really hard for me to talk about it, but I thought it's time to share with you guys kind of my stroke story, and I hope that maybe it can help somebody. Maybe it can bring hope. Maybe it can prevent a stroke from happening in somebody else. So here I am sharing it. So the last video was all about getting to the hospital and kind of what happened on the day that I had my stroke, what I was feeling, things like that. Now I'm going to talk about my hospital stay and what that looked like and how it went for me. So I was actually super lucky during my stroke to get the best care that anyone could have right from the get-go. So in my last video, I said my mom picked me up, took me to, I think it's the #1 stroke hospital in Southern California. And I was assigned an amazing neurologist there, and he observed and watched, and he and my husband decided to make the decision to give me the the clot buster medication, so that my body could flush out the clot and the brain damage that was happening could stop and it would be recoverable. So if you think you're having a stroke, my advice is get to a hospital as soon as possible, because you have a 3-hour window to really get that medication so that you can then have a full recovery. Sorry, my nose is still stuffy from crying. Okay, so I had the clot buster. They took me up to the ICU and told me I wasn't allowed to walk for 24 hours while that clot busting medication went through my system. So I laid there in bed, and honestly, and I know that this isn't just me, I've talked to a lot of stroke survivors. I laid there thinking, of course, like suddenly I'm feeling way better. Within a couple hours, my brain was clearer. Like suddenly I could speak again. And my mom, I remember she was there the whole time, and she said to my husband, she's speaking a lot more than she was before. And I wasn't trapped in my head like I was talking about earlier in my previous video. So I laid there in my bed for a day, and by the end of those 24 hours, I was convinced that they had misdiagnosed me, which basically is denial of what was really happening. And so I remember people were coming to visit. I was like, it's not a big deal. Everything's fine. And then they asked me to get up and walk for the first time. Actually, before they did that, oh my gosh, I'm going to cry again. Before they did that, they asked me to touch my fingers together like this. And I couldn't do it with my left hand. And I just remember feeling like, what is happening to me? How can I not do this? And then from there, I think they had me do some other things, and then they got me up to walk. And I remember standing up for the first time and going to take that first step and feeling like, I don't know if I can do this. And I think I made it like 15 or 20 feet. And it was more of like my body was having a hard time knowing what to do. It's like my head knew it, but my body was having a hard time responding. And so I remember going back to my bed, laying down, and it was the first time I cried. And I just bawled my eyes out. And then, of course, friends show up, and here I am crying in my bed. And I'm the kind of person that I don't like to make anybody feel uncomfortable, and I don't want to burden anyone. And so, of course, I was just like, no, it's totally fine. I'm fine. But inside, I was just like, what is happening? What just happened to me? I'm 33 years old. how can this be happening? And I was worried, like, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be normal? Is this going to go away? Am I going to get this back? Like, so many emotions. And so when everybody left, my husband and I were talking, and he actually prayed over me, and we felt very confident I would have 100% recovery. And I just remember thinking, I don't know how this is possible. Like, how did this happen? And so that denial turned into a little bit of fear and anxiety and stress. Well, fast forward a couple days, I don't remember how many days, but I was finally let out of the hospital, and they insisted on taking me out in a wheelchair. And I was like, no, I can totally walk. Like, because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, the more I can do this, the better, like the faster it's gonna recover. And I'm actually a pretty stubborn person at times, and I didn't want to believe it was still like as bad as it was. I mean, it could have been way worse, and I'm so thankful that I was able to get help so soon. And my heart hurts for people who, you know, for years and years and years and years live with the aftermath of a stroke. So we began to walk out. So they actually wheeled me out to the front doors, and then we walked. I remember walking out to the car, which was not that far. And when I got there, it was so exhausted, and I didn't understand. And on top of it, I was having a really hard time with so much stuff. I'd been in a room with nothing, you know, but just like a little hospital room for days. And then I get out, and suddenly there's cars passing, there's people walking by me. My brain is having to process all these things along with trying to walk. And along with, my balance was gone, like literally gone. And so of course I'm like holding on to my husband, but I'm feeling totally off balance and just really struggling. Now, the interesting thing about this is when I was in the hospital, suddenly I was not cold anymore. So that clot buster went through, and my thought is there must have been a clot somewhere in the like cold regulation area of my body. I don't know if that's true or not, but like literally within 10-15 minutes of getting that clot buster, I was suddenly like a normal body temperature. The next thing was, I, to this day, 7 years later, have never lost my vision again. And so I was like so happy about that. And the only thing that stuck around was the balance. And it wasn't vertigo though, it was balance issues. So whereas vertigo, everything's spinning, this was now my body was having to learn how to recalibrate and like know what was center. So anyways, that's a little bit about my hospital stay. Okay, now I'm going to share with you in the next video about coming home and what that was like, and kind of the recovery process that happened through that. Okay, if you like this video, don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe below. I would love to hear about your hospital stay. If you're a stroke survivor, what it was like for you, if you had denial issues like I did. If you had emotional issues like I did. I used to be way less emotional, and the stroke just brought those emotions out within me. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.